Welcome into the Up and Running Pod. You saw a different theme just now with a different song. We are excited to bring to you the first ever Masters show on this podcast. You heard the sounds there. That's usually followed by the soothing sounds of Jim Nance's voice, but you're stuck with me. I'm Mike here on the Up and Running Pod. Follow us on X at Up and Running Pod. Joined with me always is my co-host, the lovable, the laughable Turkey. How are you?
What's going on, buddy? Spring break was great, guys. Sorry for the week off, but it is Master Week, so hello, friends.
Oh, there it is. The soothing sounds of Jim Nance's voice. So, for those that are audio only, we talked about Justin's hat last time, Alabama Roll Tide. We're definitely getting into them. Justin has his golf hat on. I am rocking the Ryder Cup, my other favorite golfing event of the year, every 2 years, really. But the Masters is something special. The Masters is the first major of the year, the biggest golf tournament of the year. We've got a surprise guest coming on for you all. We're bringing Austin back to talk a little March Madness, to talk a little golf. We're going to highlight the Masters. Before we get into that, Justin, let's dive into the whip around coverage. We do have a turkey stats for you. We've gotten some Tallman's tips. He's got an interesting stat for us as well when we get into March Madness, and we got a do better segment as well. So, Justin, kick us off. First off, how was the spring break?
Oh, spring break was great. We took a little trip to Yorktown. Here in Virginia, it was mid 50s, maybe got up to 60, but the wind was howling, so the water was nice and cool. This is some turkey information, not necessarily a stat, but one of the only jellyfish that can survive in cold temperatures is it's not the man of war, but it's a second killer. And of course, the name just goes away from me right now. But anyway, we saw some jellyfish in the freezing waters at Yorktown Beach.
Oh, wow.
So that was pretty interesting. Then we did some shopping, found me some new golf shoes. So excited to try them out this weekend at the golf course. But spring break was great. It was nice and relaxing. We'll get into it later, but there was some sad basketball being played this past weekend. That's okay. Things will always work out. But yeah, good overall week there.
Hey, still a good showing from Alabama. I mean, I think we had they made it deeper than anybody thought. A big upset against Carolina. It was exciting. Ran into a buzzsaw that is UConn. It is what it is. So we'll definitely get into more March Madness. But good. I'm glad spring break was good. I hope your eclipse was good. I did get a chance to spend the eclipse with my nephew. You guys heard me talk about him, Issa, and I had so much fun with him. My wife and my brother-in-law, Issa's dad, went. We had a great time to see the full eclipse here in Texas, and we had such a wonderful overnight trip. We got to hang out together. It was a good family time. So, Issa, what a trip that was.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you know how much I love space and what a great thing for y'all to be able to get out as a family and check that out. Definitely a interesting coverage if you watch the mainstream media there with some of their coverage and some of the commentators looking directly at the sun with no protection. Just, hey, we're going to tell you not to do it, but for us, we're okay. We have special eyes. So glad
Yeah.
y'all got to go out there.
Hopefully they listen to this pod and do better. All right, Justin, kick us off. So we've been off for a week. We had the spring break week. We're back. The listeners definitely have been asking about the show, asking what's going to come. We talked about the Masters preview show. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into all that for us. But, Justin, we're going to do a little bit of whip around first, starting with NASCAR. How was NASCAR?
So this weekend, I mean, I'm telling you, like the Virginia tracks hit the month of April very well. 2 weeks ago we had Richmond. This week we had Martinsville. So right now, it's not looking great for Kyle Busch. That's what I'm going to talk about because he's my driver. But he's still doing well. He finished in the top 30 at Martinsville. But good racing. I tell you what's exciting right now is there's a lot of fighting going on. It's good racing, but guys are getting, they're really getting into each other about things. Denny Hamlin, who I cannot stand. I don't care that he's from Richmond. I don't like him. The 11 car could turn right into the wall every week. Pretty sure he cheated at Richmond. They won't go back and say anything because he's an owner now too. So, but the Martinsville race was good. Chevy's finished up on top, and right now the manufacturer's points, they're kicking tail. Ford is really far behind, but at the end of the day, the NASCAR racing this season has been intense. The drivers are more vocal with on-track problems, but they're also more vocal with how they want the cars to run. Kyle Busch was a little irritated with the tires and not having the horsepower to drive it into the corner. So I'm excited for that because you got bigger tracks coming up. You got the mile and a half, which you have a lot of those tracks. They're coming up. But when we get to the super speedways, all this aggression and anger is going to turn into hard racing, but it's going to turn into paybacks. And paybacks at big tracks can lead to a lot of problems, but it can lead to a lot of exciting racing for the fans. You know, the casual fan, they don't want to see 500 laps of round and round we
Sure.
go. They want to see some action, and so that's going to bring some action. So as the season starts to progress, we're through the first short track montage in Virginia, and we'll move forward. One interesting fact is
Real quick, when you say hard racing, right? We're talking about hard racing, and we're talking about some of the short tracks. You're talking about a lot more lead changes, passing, and difficult things like that. Not just what a casual fan thinks of, just making a left turn for 4.5 hours, right? You're talking about a lot more strategy involved in this hard racing.
yeah. So it's for example, you have a lot of guys that have history. And so what happens is you can take Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin. When they get together on the track, it's everything goes out the window. They want to beat each other. And whether it's the first lap or the 50th lap or the 200th lap, the last lap, they're going to go at it really hard. Now, trying to keep safe, but they want every inch they can get, don't want to give them anything versus when you're playing with somebody you don't know or you're friends with, you're going to give in a little bit in the early part of the races. Towards the end, you're probably not so much. Um, but it's understanding when to do things. As these
Okay.
points start to go away and you have new winners, the hard racing, it doesn't matter who's next to you, but understanding when to make those moves that might cost you something. And for guys like Denny Hamlin, who've already won a race or two, it doesn't matter. He's already in the playoffs, so he can wreck them all if he wants to. It's not a big deal for him.
Okay.
It's just they all race hard. It's not like
Sure.
it's not like effort
Oh
running to first
no,
base
yeah.
on a pop fly. But at the end of the day, there's a difference between racing to win and racing to beat somebody next to you because you're trying to beat 36 to 40 cars. But if you got animosity towards the other guy, then you want every inch. You don't want to give him nothing.
Makes sense.
So
And listen, and we got a lot to look forward to the NASCAR season. I know it's just getting kicked off. Like I said, we went through the first short track, through the Richmond swing. We're going to get into some big time tracks. You're going to see some big time names. Justin's going to have those stats for you. He's going to have those NASCAR updates. So stay tuned because it's definitely something exciting to talk about. And definitely, I know we have a few listeners that really look forward to the NASCAR segment. So stay tuned. We've got a lot more for you. We've got a big show. We got to recap March Madness. We've got to get into the Masters preview show, and we welcome Austin on as a guest. So a few more whip around coverage. Justin, hockey is getting really exciting. Hockey is getting down to the playoffs. We've got. I know we have a New Jersey Devils fan that listens to the show, and unfortunately, they don't look like they're doing that well. And then they look like they're going to be on the outside looking in.
yeah. So right now it is coming down to the nitty gritty. The wild cards are all up for grabs. Right now you have 3 teams from the East in, or excuse me, 5 teams from the East in, which allows one team left in in one of the conferences and in the or divisions. And the Western Conference is the same thing. So you have 2 division spots up for grabs. Then you have 4 wild card spots up for grabs. What it's coming down to these last 4 games, for example, I'll use the Capitals. The Capitals have to play the Flyers for the last game of the season. That
Yeah,
could be a playoff spot for them.
100%. 100%.
So you've had teams like, the Islanders right now who got a new coach midseason are in the playoffs as of today.
Correct.
They're tied for the 3rd spot and have the tiebreaker in their division. So it's 4 games left. There's 5 for a couple, 4 for most,
Yeah.
and it's coming down to a really exciting finish in the NHL. I mean, this weekend will be excellent.
We're gonna get right down to the last game. I think we're gonna have 5 teams battling for looks like 2 spots, maybe 4 teams battling for 2. Like you said, it's gonna come down right to the wire. I always really enjoy this time of year because you've got the Derby we've talked about, Masters coming up, March Madness just closed, NHL hockey starting. I mean, what better time in sports is there?
No, everything's finishing up. The winter sports are finishing up, going right into the PGA Tours, or not PGA Tour, but golf's major season. You've got the Kentucky Derby getting ready to start, the major horse racing season. Baseball's here every day. So it's up until June. You'll have 3 or 4 sports every day with big events at least once a month, and in May you get 2 big events right back to back. What's going on,
Oh,
big
yeah.
dog?
There he is. There's the guest coming in. Perfect timing as we're finishing the whip around coverage. Big dog, how are we?
What's up, boys? Good to be back.
Good
Uh,
to have you.
Good to have you back. Welcome to the Up and Running Pod again. If you're new to the show, you're a new listener. Austin has been on before. He's definitely a sports connoisseur. He's got a wide range of knowledge. So we're excited to have him on to talk about our March Madness recap, and then him and I have a special treat for everyone. Our Masters preview show. Him and I usually have done this offline. We've done it for almost 10 years now. Or we've got a special treat, and we'll get into that. I know I'm teasing that a lot since we started the show, but we're definitely going to get into that. So. We're wrapping up again, Justin, on the whip around coverage. You mentioned baseball. Baseball's definitely in. Just kicked off. A lot of teams are starting to show up, but we've seen a ton of early injuries, and that's definitely been something that's been talked about in the sports world. Getting players healthy. The best ability is availability. Can you stay on the field, right? And so we've seen a lot of pitchers go down. And I know this is a sore subject, but it's perfect timing bringing Austin in as his dear beloved Atlanta Braves have possibly a devastating injury.
Oh, wow. I'm going to tell you right now. So, this is my first year with you guys doing some fantasy, and I don't really care about his Braves. I'm taking hits every day. Every day, somebody's, he's done. Let's have surgery for the rest of the season. Killing my top prospects, and I'm over here dealing with like the eighth shortstop on the Boston Red Sox AAA team. That's what I've got to put into it. I don't even want to talk about baseball. It's killing me, but I love it. I won my first week, but really, it's allowed me to watch more of the games.
Sure.
But watching the players more, it's just like everybody with fantasy football. We all have teams, or you have teams, but you really watch the football players themselves. It's amazing how the little things are getting some of these teams through. And just one guy here or there makes such a big difference in these games. And a lot of people talk about winning with pitching these days, but you talk about a guy like Mike Trout. You have guys like that are superstars. Schwarber used to be a superstar, not anymore. I mean, it's big names that aren't doing anything. It's little guys doing a lot. I know you love some Juan Soto hitting home runs for the Yankees now. It's so much going on in such a time-honored sport. Love America. You love baseball. Like, if you were born here and don't know baseball, well, I'm sorry, you're missing out. It's the whole reason. Hot dogs and beer, right? So, dude,
You can't do hot dogs in. I'll swear you out on that.
2 weeks in baseball, I've watched more baseball than I have in 3 years.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Go ahead, Austin.
It's opening week. It's just the fresh cut grass, the pageantry, and the pitchers going down with elbows injuries. It's just it's brutal. It's unbelievable what's going on. I've got some thoughts. I still don't know what to make of it, but it's just. It's tough because it's, to your point, Turkey. Every week it's another, and it's big names. It's not just back end bullpen guys or long relievers. It's frontline starters that are just and they're getting younger and younger, and it's almost getting to the point where it seems like it's like a given that you're going to have Tommy John before you're 25, and something's got to be done about that. It shouldn't be that way. No one had Tommy John surgery up until 1990, and now every prospect has it.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. We debated that together plenty of times. So as we wrap up the whip around coverage, because we got a lot to get into with March Madness, touching on that, and then our Masters preview show, which I'm really excited for. I know Austin is, I know Turkey is as well. But I will end with the Yankees behind me being the best record in baseball, 10-2. I will take that. So we will put a little stamp on that one as I have a Braves fan and a awful Red Sox fan in front of me.
I mean, everybody can buy wins. It's not that hard. But we'll move on. That's another show. But everybody can buy wins.
So
look at the Dodgers.
Buying wins. We hope we are hoping that Alabama Roll Tide would have bought a win, but they ran into a buzzsaw that was UConn. So Austin, coming on, give us your thoughts on what you thought the Final Four was. I know a lot of the listeners are definitely going to be excited to hear how was Corey's experience, as I know he was out there in Phoenix. So take us through. What was your thoughts?
So the only word that really comes to mind is domination. I mean, it was UConn and there was everybody else. I mean, to go through the tournament the way they did, they trailed the entire tournament less than 8 minutes of actual action. They were never even tied in the second half, let alone trailing in the second half. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. At least you struggle leading up to the Final Four. You struggle with somebody. They made it look so easy. I mean, they're cutting, they're passing. it's a clinic what they could do, and they just picked teams apart and said, hey, we're going to run ball screen at the top of the key, and you're not going to stop our shooters, and if you do try to stop them, we're going to dump it down low, and the big guy's going to just go to work.
Yeah, absolutely, and really never looked to be in danger in that title game against Purdue. I mean, I'm one that I was so surprised to see Purdue in the finals. To be quite honest with you, I didn't have them getting to the Final Four. I was really surprised a Big Ten team was even going to make it to the Final Four. To be honest with you, I mean, I guess Purdue's the best one out of all of them, but Purdue looked overmatched from the start. UConn was, I think. Dave Portnoy came out and said that he was never even questioning losing his massive bet that he put on UConn because of it just looked like they were dominating. I mean, that's a great word to put on their entire season because UConn ran through that tournament like no one could even come close to them. Arguably to say one of the more dominating performances we've seen in the past 10, 20 years as far as March Madness tournaments can go. I think UConn played that well. So Turkey, what happened to this Alabama team? I mean, we were so hyped getting in. The group chat was on fire as Alabama makes the Final Four. I mean, what happened?
They ran into the buzzsaw, like you said. It's their first Final Four appearance in school history. Nate Oates is a good coach. I don't want to give him that great moniker yet. He's a good coach. He brought a good team together, made a good run, made a great run. You really look at who he had to beat to get there. Knocking off UNC was a great game. I really thought the issue is the issue with anybody that plays UConn, anybody that plays Danny Hurley. I'm not even going to say UConn. Danny Hurley, his mindset is almost exactly like Nick Saban's when it comes to adjustments. The man plays his half, and he might make some adjustments in game. It's a little bit easier in basketball when you're seeing it live. Like you just have to go. That motor has to be running. But at halftime, whatever you did well, you better change it up because he is absolutely going to torment that part of the ball for the rest of the game. Alabama had a chance. They were shooting well. They shot 50%. They shot from the field. They shot 70% from three-point line. But the problem was when they came out in the second half, and you watch teams when they get down to UConn, and I was talking to Matty B yesterday, when you get down to UConn, mentally they beat you. It ain't physically. They were trading. They went on I think 6 in a row of 7-0 runs or 8-0 runs between them. So 7 points for you, then I'm gonna score 7. Back and forth. But mentally, UConn breaks you down and forces you into. I mean, Nelson doesn't need to be shooting 4 3-pointers in a row. That doesn't need to happen, right? And it was rush shots. Sears has a couple fouls on him. Things get pushed a little bit there. And it's not that they couldn't have beaten them. It's that the mental fortitude wasn't there. They weren't prepared for what UConn was bringing. Had them in the first half, hung with them in the first half, should have been ahead. But UConn just does everything right. It's like their middle game is like Tiger Woods' middle game. Nothing bothered them. They didn't get frustrated. I mean, it's not hard to do that when you're ahead all the time. But at the same time, Alabama was giving them a game in the early parts. And you watch what happened there. And we might touch on the women's game a little bit too, but you watch what happened to Iowa. Caitlin Clark's on fire. South Carolina's like, that's fine. Great teams, South Carolina and UConn, they don't let that stuff bother them. You say it all the time, Mike. Basketball is a game of runs, and UConn just kept on going and didn't stop. And all it takes is in a game like that is 1, 2, make 1, 3, 4. You got 4 missed out of 5 trips. Well, now you're behind 8 or 10 points.
And it's definitely a game of runs. Austin and I have talked about that, and we've been out there. We've gotten a chance to do a college basketball trip together. Austin, game of runs for sure. We say it all the time.
As my favorite thing with college basketball, it's a game of runs. Turkey, I do want to talk about Alabama with you because you made a great point with Danny Hurley being the king of adjustments. So Nate Oates, he makes no qualms about it. He's analytics. It's 3-pointers or layups. Alabama had 4 made field goals that were inside the 3-point line but not in the paint. And the second half especially, it looked like UConn would run them off that 3-point line, and they were trying to keep making that extra pass to get a 3 when there were open looks in the mid-range. And, it's something UConn did a great job in against Purdue of, all right, Edie's blocking the middle. We got to make these mid-range jumpers, and Castle and Newton made them. Do you think Nate Oates was almost too stubborn in his, hey, we can only shoot 3s or layups, and they weren't getting any layups on Klingon, and they were beholden to the 3-point line?
Yeah, so I think that's part of Nate Oates' biggest problem is he doesn't look at what he needs to do. He looks at what the analytics tell him to do. And I think the hard part for me is when you watch the open shots, when Nelson's covered and you've got Sears in the middle, like take the shot.
Yeah.
Stop leaving them. Sometimes you got to let the players play, and they just can't run plays, right? So, and I love using analogies. So, like in golf, if you show up with the draw that day, well, that's what you got. You're not going to change it in 18 holes. Play what you got. Play what UConn was giving you instead of forcing everything. And I think one of the biggest things for me, UConn was giving them the 3-point line for the most part in the second half, being open, but they were giving it to them with 20, 25 seconds left on the shot clock. They let them come down and stand around there all day, and we're rushing shots up instead of that taking that extra pass. Take the shot right there. If you can't get inside, that's fine. You don't have to have it's just frustrating because you don't have to have layups all the time. You've got to be able to take those shots, and it's not like we were missing them. It's not like we don't have guys that can make them. But when that's not your goal, and you're listening to coach, it's a hard place to be when you've seen what they can do from outside the paint, inside the arc, and all of a sudden we're going to take that part of the game away from you.
And you're almost, and scared isn't the right word, but you're uncomfortable with a mid-range jumper, and it's one that if you walk out to your backyard, they're going to make 95 out of 100, but they never shoot it in an actual game with somebody around you, and it's just, oh, am I supposed to shoot this? Is coach going to get upset that I shot this and I didn't look to make the pass? And it's to me that was the biggest adjustment is UConn kind of dared them to take twos, and they just wouldn't take them.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is hold on, quick, Mike. The biggest thing is you go 7-for-11 from three in the first half, and you go 4 from 12 in the second.
Yep.
And you still shoot. You shoot under 50% for the game now, and it's like all that you had went away, and it's just the adjustments they made didn't go with what the game was. I don't care what the analytics say. Sometimes you've got to look at what the game's doing and what they're giving you and go with that. Like understanding that you have players that got you to this Final Four. It wasn't just the analytics. Sometimes these guys had to make plays. Nelson making plays against Carolina is what got you to the elite, the Final Four. So why are you taking that away from him?
Yeah.
Why are you taking the ball out of Sears' hand for the extra pass that you don't need?
To me, there's analytics and then there's manalytics. Sometimes you just gotta let your all-star Mark Sears, who no one could stay in front of. You got to say, hey, we need a bucket, big guy. Go get us a bucket. Get in the lane, get us a bucket, and just go to work. And if you got to run the old school North Carolina 4-out ISO and say, all right, here's Sears, try to do something for us. You got to let the best player get the ball in his hands and make a shot, and they just didn't do it.
No, not at all.
Yeah, and that's actually, it's interesting you guys segue to that, and I'm glad, Justin, you jumped in there because that actually brings us to my hashtag Do Better segment. So as a coach, I've coached previously, a while ago, albeit, but I think this is the problem with coaches today. We get tied up into a system that you want to coach a certain way, and that's the only way you coach, right? Like Justin said, a three-pointer or a layup, that's all Alabama was taking. Well, when the defense is giving you 10, 12 footers, take them, right? Because you have to play what the defense gives you. And I think great coaches aren't system coaches, right? So to the coaches out there that have spent so much time and effort developing the system because the analytics tell you to do so, or the analytics tell you to pull the pitcher before they see the lineup for the third time, we're relying so much on analytics. I mean, at some point, Skynet's coming. I mean, we're just going to turn into the Terminator at this point because we're letting robots and AI do everything. What are we doing here? We're taking the human element out of sports. We're taking the human element out of decisions, out of feeling the game. What happened to showing up, getting out there and playing? Let the game come to you. Feel it. Get in the rhythm. Get in a moment. So for our coaches out there, or for young coaches that are trying to aspire to become great, if you develop a system that you like, it's a run and gun offense, it's the 1-3-1 gimmick defense, whatever you like, be able to get out of it, be able to have a backup plan and a third plan and a fourth plan, because feel the game. When you have great players like Austin brought out, let them develop, let them take over, and you feel the game. Let the game come to you because you still have to coach them. It's not enough to be a recruiter. And we're going to talk about this in a second. Being a great recruiter does not mean you're going to make a great team or a great coach or great wins or national titles. You've got to be able to develop. So do better out there for those young coaches that are developing systems, be able to adjust on the fly.
Well said. Well said. 100%.
So, all right, that's our do better. So, we talked about being a great recruiter. Big college basketball news, not just March Madness. And we're not done recapping March Madness, but we're going to take a little pause here to see what happened in Kentucky. We talked about John Calipari not staying, not being there for very often. And Zach even alluded to this and what was happening there. Kentucky needed a change. Kentucky got a change. Turkey, lead us off. What happened with this John Calipari?
It's too much noise for him. Probably some, well, I'll say NIL deals kind of got him out of the recruiting violation process, but he can go to Arkansas, and if they make a tournament appearance and make it to the Sweet 16, which I know he hasn't done at Kentucky in a while, but if he can take them anywhere in the tournament, he's not going to hear any flack from them. You can't go to Kentucky and do what he's done, no matter how great the teams are. You can post 40 wins a season. It doesn't matter. If you aren't winning the title, nobody cares. It's one of those things that, if Saban, let's just put it this way, if Saban had won the SEC championship 5 years in a row, knocked out first round of the playoff every year, he'd be gone too. And I hate saying that, but that's just the way the SEC is. And really any big-time program, Kansas, I don't know why they keep holding on to Bill Self. He's done. Teams like that. Texas, I don't even know why they have a basketball program. They don't give anybody a chance. They're ready to get rid of them after 2 years of doing nothing, but it's Texas, football school. But the Calipari news scares me a little bit. Nate Oates has already been offered by Kentucky, and we all know this. When coaches are offered by the SEC, the first thing they do is go, no, I'm not going anywhere. Well, Nick Saban said he wasn't going anywhere when he was in Miami, and all of a sudden he's in Alabama the next day. So I don't want Oates to leave. I think with the program he has in the AD there, Greg Burns a great AD, he'll stay. But Arkansas is going to become a threat. They're not going to be a pushover anymore. You're also bringing in Oklahoma and Texas into the SEC. This isn't shaking up college basketball today, but give Arkansas 3 years. They're going to be a formidable program. What happens to Kentucky in the next 2 years will determine what happens to Kentucky in the next 20. If they botch this hiring, Kentucky's going to struggle like Alabama did for so many years in football. You've got to get it right now because you have the recruits in. And granted, I know they can all change. They have a couple weeks, blah, 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 whatever. But you have to get it right to keep those guys, or you've wasted a recruiting season, and now you're gonna be trashed for like 3 years because nobody's you don't have Calipari there, who is one of the greatest recruiters on the planet. Who are you going to bring in that can do that and wants to leave the school they're at and has experience at a school like that? There's nobody. Unless somebody's dumb enough to leave a program they have been with, there's nobody available that I will say can go into Kentucky or a Duke or UNC who isn't taken over from a mentor and bring that program to close to what Calipari had it at, even without winning games in the tournament. What you think, Austin?
Well, first off, can we get a Woo Pig Suey? Woo Pig Suey.
Woo Pig Suey, baby.
I do have to push back a little bit on you though, Turk. Arkansas had a down year this year. The last 3 years, 2 Elite Eights and a Sweet 16. I'm not sure that they were preseason top 10. They fell off. There was some internal stuff going on this year, and Musselman got on the wrong end with some boosters, and they kind of forced him out. Now Arkansas's got two of the biggest. They got the Waltons, so they got the Walmart family right down the street. The arena's named after them, so they've got an NIL collective that can compete with anybody. And then their other big one is the founder of Tyson Chicken, and he's doing all right. If you looked at chicken prices in the last 4, they're doing just fine on some chicken wings. So Arkansas has got facilities. So I think Calipari immediately comes in and can right the ship there. I think you're absolutely right, and it's to tie it to the football analogy. I think it's going to be interesting, especially now that we've got the 12-team, soon to be 14-team playoff. Some of these SEC coaches, they win the SEC and they get bounced in the first round. It's not like the current one. All right, yeah, they lost in the semifinals. That's fine. You start losing to some of these first-round games, they're going to start running college coaches out. And I think Calipari just kind of said, I'm winning 30 games. All right, yeah, we've kind of gotten bounced in the tournament, and he's got some issues there that he definitely needs to correct. But there's a reason all these college coaches are leaving. because they got boosters in their ear. Jay Wright already said no, I don't want any part of it because he doesn't want to deal with those boosters. I don't think Nate Oates leaves. I know he put out the statement like everybody does, and he'll come out of this thing with another contract extension on top of the one he signed a week and a half ago. But I think some of these schools you're almost better, at a football school, if you will, because the football team's going to take all the cover, and you can kind of run your basketball program and be left alone because the boosters are. Oh, that's right, we do have a basketball team here and there. So I would be. I'm very curious to see who Kentucky gets because I don't know that you'd really want that job.
Oh, I don't think
I agree.
I
agree on that.
Too much noise, but here's the thing: it's Kentucky, right? Like if you look at the Minnesota Timberwolves job opens up and the Celtics open up. Both of them want you. Everything equal across the board. You're going to Boston. I don't care if you suck in Boston. I'd rather coach the Celtics than I would the Timberwolves, right? My thing is not necessarily, and they've had success. I know that, but it's just like they had success in football.
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas, and granted, he didn't do it with Kentucky, but Arkansas can't get over the hump. They've never been able to get over the hump. Maybe in swimming, diving, girls field hockey, but in sports that matter, football, baseball, and men's basketball, they can't get there. And Calipari isn't successful except getting your one and dones into the pros. So for me, he had problems before he got to Kentucky, and I'm sure he had some there that got covered up. But for me to have Calipari there, I'd rather, if I was Arkansas, have an up and rising coach who has aspirations to go and do more. Calipari's already made his money. He's there to help these kids, and he does a great job with that. But at the end of the day, are you going to Arkansas to play basketball if you have other options in a state that isn't called Arkansas and your biggest highlight is Walmart?
I disagree there. So 2 points there. I think people are going to follow Calipari for what he is. He is a great recruiter to get you on a stage because everyone's going to follow Arkansas basketball now because Calipari's there. So he's going to get you there to get you to the NBA in your next 1 to 2 years, right? So if you're a kid that is a potential lottery pick, maybe you're a bottom first rounder, maybe you're a top second rounder, you're going to Arkansas because you're going to get that spotlight, you're going to get that exposure, and you're going to play for Calipari, right? You're not there to go win titles. Now, to your other point, which was the Kentucky job, I don't think a lot of people want that job because you have to go in and change a culture that has been used to one and dones, used to complete almost starting five turnover, which I think is a bad problem. And you're going to get in there and are you going to change the culture? Are you going to now be a recruiter for one and done? Or are you going to come back and play basketball and recruit kids that want to be there 4 years and hopefully win a title? So I wouldn't want that job either. I'd rather go somewhere else. But I disagree that people aren't going to want to go to Arkansas because I can tell you kids are going to go follow Calipari because of his name, because of his recruiting, and because he can get kids to the NBA.
Then they're going to get what Kentucky had. And Austin, you might be able to talk on this, but here's the thing. Oklahoma State, one of the number one NILs probably with T. Boone Pickens. You talk about Walmart and Tyson Foods. Okay. But the biggest thing in college sports is college football. Oklahoma State, Texas A&M, they fall flat on their face.
Yep.
So even though they hire the big coaches, they fall flat. So the NIL money doesn't mean anything to me. What we're talking about here is why is UConn, okay? Why is UConn winning a national title in basketball? It's not because they've got 5 one and done guys. They've got guys that have played together. Okay?
Exactly.
Why have they we'll go ahead and I'm gonna put this out there real quick. Tallman's tips. 32% of the tournaments, the brackets, they have not been in since 1999, but they've won 24% of them. UConn has won 24% of the tournaments since 99. So in 25 years, they have won 6. They won 6 now? Last night was 6. So they've won 6 titles in 25 years, but have only been in 32% of those. They're not some blue blood. I mean, you don't consider them a blue blood program. Maybe you do, but they come out of a conference that is a basketball conference. They should have NIL money. But when you look at what we're talking about here, Calipari's going to do exactly what he did at Kentucky, at Arkansas, and I don't think the boosters will like it. no matter how much you win, if you're not putting championship banners in the rafters, it doesn't matter. And that's what Arkansas just got. And you're not. It's not like it's a great place to go. At least in Tuscaloosa, you can go to the, coast.
No, stop, Austin, take over
Yeah,
because I can't hear another Tuscaloosa reference.
We had this debate on the golf course this weekend. I'm curious to see this because when Calipari left, if you were a kid, where would you, or if you were a coach and had both of these programs came open and you were trying to get recruits to that program, which one do you think is a better job, Arkansas or Michigan State?
Ooh.
I'm the coach, or I'm the athlete.
You're John Calipari, and they both are open. They are. You're an A-level coach. Both those jobs are open. Which one would you take?
I'm taking. This is going to be this. I think they're on the kind of the same level. I think you're replacing Izzo, which is a massive program. I get the pageantry of Michigan State. I get the desire of it. But for me personally, I'm going to care more about where I live. So I would probably rather live in Arkansas than in what, East Lansing, Michigan, I think is what it is. I would rather go to Arkansas than Michigan just because I'd rather live there. But from pure school pageantry history, actually, you know what? I'm still taking Arkansas. Put me in the SEC and let me roll with the SEC, honestly.
I'm going Michigan State here simply because it's less competition in the Big Ten than it's going to be in the SEC.
Oh, okay. So you want to duck so you don't want to earn it. I got it. So you want to duck. Heard it here, folks. Justin's ducking competition.
I'm being smart.
See, that to me that kind of was the point that we were getting into. Everybody would say John Calipari's on the hot seat. Hasn't gotten to a Final Four in forever. Hasn't won a title since 14. Why has nobody ever said that about Tom Izzo?
Agreed.
Tom hasn't won anything since 2000. Arkansas went back to back in 93, 94. Why is Michigan State considered this? And Tom Izzo, he doesn't put the pros out there. They don't. He's only been to one more Final Four in his career than Calipari has. How come Izzo's they never say he's on the hot seat?
I have the answer for us. Here's why. I think Tom Izzo is the biggest coach on that campus, just like Bill Self is the biggest coach on that campus. When you look at an Arkansas, I think the football program's a little better. I also think you go to Alabama, obviously it's Nick Saban, right? In Kentucky, John Calipari was the biggest coach on that campus. But Kentucky football is getting better. But at the same time, Kentucky is used to a national title regime. But at the same time, to Justin's point with the boosters are the ones that I think call for Calipari's head because they want that. I don't think you have as active or as much money in Kansas or in Michigan State for that reasons. But as those big name coaches are, I don't think anybody wants to touch them because had Alabama honestly gone 6-6 for 3 straight years, I still think Saban would be the coach. Sometimes you earn the ability to be there for a lifetime or till you want to call it quits. I know it's a long-winded answer. I apologize, but I think you've earned that lifetime ability as an Izzo or a Self. But I also think at that point, the boosters to Justin's point was a great one that I think they're calling for heads because Calipari keeps becoming, getting a tournament and getting bounced in the first round. And where, Izzo and Self, they struggle as well as a Kansas and Michigan State team. But again, I think they've earned the lifetime spot there.
Bill Self did win the national title in 2002 or 22, 2 years ago. So it's
sure.
He's not exactly fallen off the map.
He's not. He's been there forever.
I think Izzo. I mean, he does not get the one and doneers. So I don't know. Maybe that gets him more time, and he's not as flashy. But I mean, all right. So if Calipari beats Oakland and then loses in the second round game, is that better? Because that's what Michigan State's done the last.
Michigan State's been in the tournament. How many years in a row now with Izzo? He's like Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin. We get enough to get it done, and then we just get to the postseason to please our fans. Izzo, to me, I feel like Izzo has been screwed a lot. Some of it's his own doing, but I feel like he's done things the right way. I don't know. I really agree with you, Big Dog, because Izzo hasn't done much. I mean, he won a title in 2000. He's been in the national championship game in 2009, lost to Carolina. But outside of that, you're right. He hasn't done anything.
What job are you taking?
I think I'm taking the Arkansas job myself. I think there's just more. It's evening out now with money wise, but I think there's just more money in the SEC.
Sure.
So I think I would take that job. I think Arkansas's got the histories are probably pretty similar. I think they each have 2 national titles, probably similar amounts of Final Four trips. Izzo's probably got a couple more, but it's very similar jobs. But yeah, I was just curious what y'all thought because Izzo and Calipari, the numbers are really close, and one guy they've been trying to get rid of for years, and the other guy just we and every year we were like, man, they think this Michigan State team is going to be good, and then we wake up and they're 14-10, and then they win 2 games in the Big Ten tournament, and this team can make a run. They beat an average UAB team in the 8-9 matchup, and then get run out by North Carolina.
Yeah.
So to Mike's point, real quick, your Michigan State point about I lost it. Never mind. Go ahead. Biggest coach. Quick. Izzo is the biggest coach on that campus. Michigan State football is a joke. They shouldn't even have a program. Joke.
Absolutely.
Well, that's just, you can't say in Big Ten football or Big Ten anything, honestly. And really, I get frustrated too because of Matty B, honestly, because I'm always going to root against Matty B and everything. So, but Austin, 2 quick Arkansas things before we kind of wrap up March Madness here is one, what do you think Calipari is going to do, or how do you think he's going to do at Arkansas?
I think he's gonna win. I think it does. I don't think it's going to take him long. I imagine a bunch of those Kentucky kids, they've already requested to be released from the letter of intent. I think a bunch of them are going to end up at Arkansas. The cupboard's not bare at Arkansas. For being a small state, Arkansas actually has 2 or 3 top 100 McDonald's kids every year. So they do have some good talent within the state. And Musselman did a good job of keeping them home, which is why he had the tournament success. So I think he's going to win. I don't know that he this year, the first year, it may be bumpy, but I think he's going to have them competing for titles within 2 years.
All right. So, and then last Arkansas thing, because this is a topic that this is right about the time when I start texting with the little brother about Arkansas baseball, because I'm always rooting for Arkansas baseball in the College World Series. So, Austin, give us a quick recap. How was Corey's experience out in Phoenix? The streak is still alive. He got to see that. And then what was his reaction to the Calipari announcement?
So, Phoenix was interesting. So they ended up actually not going.
Oh, wow.
The ticket prices to get in never got below $500 a ticket for the upper deck top seats. So, and that's just it's absurd. I mean, that was
that's crazy.
5 times what we paid for Carolina Duke, and it's just
that's insane.
So they unfortunately they did not go. They went down, kind of did all the stuff around the stadiums and Radio Row and all that good stuff. So hung out there. So they were in town. They went by the stadium, but were not in the building. Unfortunately, ticket prices. I don't know if it was spillover just from the women's Final Four to somehow made this one more valuable or something. Because all these teams, I think maybe just that Purdue hadn't been there. They brought everybody to town because UConn doesn't travel all that well. Alabama, they're okay in terms of traveling for basketball. They're not great. NC State, same thing. That they get their fans, but it's not big. So I think it was Purdue or ticket brokers just held on to them too long because it was unlike anything we'd ever seen in the 10, 12 years of doing this thing were these ticket prices.
Wow, that's crazy. That's an astronomical ticket price. And then quick, his reaction on Calipari. Happy, sad?
He was pumped. I think the exact quote was, I can't believe if you had told me that Calipari would come to Arkansas, I would have never believed it. So the Arkansas brethren is alive. Well, they're calling the Hogs, and they're looking forward to getting it started.
Outstanding. Good for that. So nicely done. All right, good update from Corey, and good update on the streak. The streak's still alive. They're at least they're in the town. They didn't get a chance to go to the game, though. Justin, so we were talking a little bit about March Madness, about this tournament, and about everything. What was one of your biggest surprises, reactions here? Because there was a lot that happened. You and I texted a lot throughout all this. The group chat was on fire with everybody. Austin's in there. Everybody's in there. We're kind of talking about this stuff. I mean, this March Madness, NC State made their run, like you called it. I mean, it was a great call.
Well, the biggest thing is what I've noticed and we talked about this some with the mid majors and getting them in there, and not that NC State is one, but this game, you take a team like Purdue, you take a team like UConn, and you see what happened to Purdue in the championship game against UConn. But if you watch the mid majors, if you watch the conference tournaments, you can see what teams are playing well, which teams have the heart, which teams have the chance to make a run, and you can see the ones that don't. Barring injuries, Marquette, Houston, two teams that without injuries, Houston without an injury beats Duke and gets to where they need to be in the Elite Eight. So, things like that happen. But the biggest one is if you watch the ACC tournament and you watch the way NC State played and the way Burns manhandles people on the inside, his physicality. Granted, you can't go that far. That type of run is not unprecedented, but it's one of the few things that happens every couple of years where a team has to win to get in, and in a big conference they go do it. Well, they're going to carry that momentum forward, and to beat the teams they beat to do that was just absolutely impressive. But then you take some of the smaller schools, won a couple games in the early rounds, and that's great. But the biggest thing I took away was, and I'm not a Hurley fan. I can't stand him. I can't stand his brother. Don't like any of it. But what I will say is this: watching him coach basketball and watching his team play, it's really mesmerizing when you take it all in of what he did. He said, go play 20 minutes of basketball, then you're going to come back and see me. I'm going to tell you what you did wrong and what we need to do. And they went out there and absolutely destroyed every opponent in the second half. Alabama was probably the closest in the second half of even having any kind of handle in the last 3 minutes of the game. It was too much for them. So to watch something like that, how much I love football, to watch somebody actually go in and just, it is about the team. It's about the 5 to 10 players you have playing. But for me, it was more about the coach for UConn, for Danny Hill, doing what he did at every game, at every point in every game. He would come in and say, go play. And at halftime, the way they destroyed Illinois in the second half, Illinois didn't even know what to do. They might as well have gone home. Well, really probably should have gone home after the 10 minutes in the first half. But Purdue, I told Matt Brueggemann at 15 minutes to go in the game, it's over. Purdue was down 9 points. Easy to come back. I said, it's over. And so for me, this is probably the first year that I'm like, man, NC State did their run. That's great. But that bracket was trash. Houston if the boy from Houston doesn't get hurt, they're probably going to dominate NC State. But UConn.
For those at home listening, if you missed the audio, missed the visual of this, because I always got to call it the visual for our audio learners. Justin just knocked down a water cup. I'm surprised he electrocuted himself with all of his audio equipment he's got out here. It looks like a NASA space station. So if you have not seen the video of our show, you've got to check it out. I highlighted it 2 weeks ago when Justin had the Bama hat on. You've got to go back on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you can find this podcast at Up and Running Pod. Please catch the video version of Justin because it is a sight to see. And I'm surprised he didn't electrocute himself. And who knows what's going to happen on this show, because last episode you got Zach. We had we talked about how many hot dogs are going to take off on your life. We've got Tyson chicken references this time. You don't know what you're going to find. This is the Up and Running Pod. We're going to bring you everything from the sports world and the group chat boys. This is for those guys that are out there that do battle in the group chat, that have that camaraderie, that they do guy trips, they go on golf trips, whatever it be. So I appreciate all the listeners on the Up and Running Pod. Austin, close us out for March Madness. Final thoughts on how this tournament was.
It was UConn domination, and it's to me it all comes down to who's got the best guards. We seem to forget this every year, and it's you look back on whoever wins the title, they've got two predominantly upper class guards, or at least a sophomore and a junior, and UConn's Newton and Castle were better than Smith and Lewis. I think Houston would have made a run if Shed doesn't get hurt, but he gets hurt and they're out. For NC State, O'Connell and the other Burns had the greatest 2 weeks shooting stretches of their entire lives, and they end up in the Final Four. It always comes down to guard play, and I think we tend to forget that when it comes to the tournament. We get excited with the wings and the small forwards, power forwards, the guys that are jumping out the gym and crashing on the wing on the alley oops. but it always comes down to guard play. And you know Dan Hurley is going to coach up his guards at UConn. UConn's got as proud a tradition of guards as anybody, from Rip Hamilton, Khalid El-Amin, Kemba Walker, Shabazz Napier. They've got them all. At the end of the day, guards win in March, and they cut down the nets in April. So look to the guards next year when you're filling out your brackets.
Boy, what a quote that was. Cut the nets down in April. I like that. From a former point guard, that warms my heart because I'm a big believer in the same thing, but I never want to be biased. Also, as a coach, a good point guard can make or break our team, that is for sure. So that is the March Madness. What an exciting tournament it was, boys. An incredible March. We've had that. We are hitting that right in the middle of that full swing of the greatest time in sports. Justin, which brings us to the greatest golf tournament of the year. Justin's going to be taking over host duties as we get into this 2024 Masters preview show. When we started this pod, this was one of the highlighted shows we wanted to have, which was Austin and I kind of go through a little Masters preview with Turkey. And we've teased it already. You will hear the live draft that Austin and I do every single year. I think we're 10 or 11 years running on this thing, where we will draft our 4 golfers plus an alternate for this in its lowest score to net par. We've got some different rules thrown in there, so we'll keep everybody posted on X as the tournament goes along. And if you're listening to this and you're in some type of contest or any kind of maybe a gentleman's wager with a friend of yours, you can use some of Austin and I's picks, because we're going to do the draft right here, right now, live, before we get into analysis. So, Turkey, take us away.
All right, boys. So here we are. It is Masters Week. I know everybody's excited to see the azaleas and see the golf course. I'm excited to see LT Gray back on the golf course. Hopefully he can stay healthy for more than 3 holes. Do we want to go right into the draft, folks? Or do you want to converse a little bit?
That's right in the draft. And we'll break it down.
All right. So
I can't give away. I can't give any way my analysis. I mean, I can't give Austin any more information he wants.
All right, we're going to go round by round. Like you said, it's 4 rounds plus an alternate, so 5 total rounds. We're going to start with Mike. Mike gets the first pick. It's no snakes, so Mike Austin, and so forth. Mike, first pick for the Masters.
We'll be taking world number 1, Mr. Scotty Scheffler at Augusta. Austin. As expected, I'm sure.
As expected. I don't think there was really only one other guy that could potentially go there. He will come off the board with the number 2 pick. Team Bull will take Mr. John Rahm.
As expected, as we would go 1-2 there with Scotty and John Rahm, so that's a good pick there.
2 great picks. Current number 1, former number 1, former winners. Liv versus PGA. We go into round 2. Mike Mills, who do you got with the pick number 3?
I'm going to take a staple on the Team Mills' team. I take him in a lot of majors. He has not won a major yet, but Team Mills is going to take Xander Schauffele.
He doesn't win majors because he has an X in his name, but that's okay.
Wow, I like it. Mills. That was not where I thought you were going to go.
That's a free pick for you, Austin. You beat that guy all day long.
That one hurts my heart because I actually we can cut ahead. Xander is my pick to win this week. I think he gets the monkey off the back and gets it done this week.
What a pick from Team Mills. What a pick.
Oh, that's got to be heartbreaking. Big Dog is hurting right now.
That one stung a little. I didn't. I knew we'd compete. I didn't have him 3rd on the list though. But
the 4th pick,
will get his number 3 pick and the number 3 guy on his board, Hideki Matsuyama.
Ooh, sneaky. I did not see that coming at 3.
All right, that's 2 rounds in. We have only one live guy so far. We're going to the 5th pick, Mike. And you're up with that. Let's have it.
We will add a live player, but not the one everyone is expecting. I'm going to take Joaquin Niemann, who got a special invitation to the Masters year, who I think is going to play phenomenal at that golf course. I will take a live guy on the team. Give me Joaquin Niemann.
Wow.
I had a sneaky suspicion that you were going to pick him. Again, didn't think he would have gone there. He was not on Team Bull's board, so he was not on my list. So I did not think. So there goes that. Going to have to take him, really, because I don't want you to have him, because eventually he's going to win this thing. Give me the man from Northern Ireland, Mr. Rory McIlroy.
Oh,
Wasn't even
everybody
on.
knows. Go ahead.
Take it away, Terry. You know you.
As everybody knows, there's a lifetime bet this man will never complete the career Grand Slam and win the Masters. Mr. Rory McIlroy at pick number 6 in the 3rd round by Big Dog himself. I think it's a great pick. Don't know why he wasn't higher up. As we move to the 4th round, Mike Mills, who you got?
It's interesting. We're fading the same name here, which is really interesting to me. So I am going to fade one more round, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to take an interesting pick. He's a major crusher. He shows up for majors. He's a big name player, and he does not play for Live. I'm going to take, returning from injury, Willie Z. Give me Will Zalatoris.
It's a great pick. That's where I thought you were going second.
Okay.
I knew Willie was going to be on your team. I thought you were going to grab him second. And allow me to swing in and get some Xander love. But good pick on Willie Z. Game looks
big names out there. There are 2 big names I'm thinking of right now. Will Big Dog take one? What you got for pick number 8, number 2 in round 4?
Oh, interesting. Oh, do we fade him again?
Oh, I don't think you can. There's only 1 pick left, Austin.
You know, I think you have to do it just because we're going to look up on Saturday and he's going to be 2 back or lean the thing. Let me go to the Live Tour one more time and get Mr. Brooks Koepka.
Oh, he got him.
Somebody had to take him, right? I mean, I'm a huge Brooks fan. I think the problem is Brooks has got a little bit of his opening 2 rounds are with a very frustrating player from Brooks. So the waggle of Brian Harman, I think, will get under Brooks' skin a little bit. We'll see what happens. If I'm right, I'm playing a little bit of strategy on that one. But I'm a big Brooks fan, so we'll see what he does.
There's nothing I enjoy more than Brooks Koepka not playing good golf. But this week, Big Dog, I'm with you. If you can beat Mike Mills, I hope your number 3 pick comes through and just smokes them. But all that's done. You picked your 4 guys. Now we go to the alternate round. Mike Mills, who is your alternate?
This is a tough one for me because the 3 guys I had written down as an alternate, I was hoping at least one of them would be taken. And we'll talk about that. I think all 3 are going to play well. I am going to go with, I think putting is a big thing, but I'm also going to go with consistency here because your alternates can be used if one of your first 4 players misses a cut. So my alternate, I'm going to be somebody who's been a staple, made a bunch of top 25s. I'm going to go with Shane Lowry.
Okay.
That's a good pick. He was the top name, and I was between Koepka and Lowry for my final pick. So that's a good pick. I think he has a good showing. I will have him. I will bet him for a top 20 finish. I think he's going to have a good tournament on good form right now. So solid pick.
Well, with the last pick in the draft, his alternate, Big Dog, what you got?
So I have a feeling you think you know. I think I knew where I wanted to go. I'm gonna be honest though. As I was waiting in the lobby, I got a text alert from ESPN that hurt my heart on this pick. So I'm a little unsure, and I'm gonna have to. Unfortunately, I'm gonna go away from it. I'm gonna go with the guy that was 1 spot lower. One of the greatest ball strikers on the tour. I think he is back rounding into form. Give me Matthew Fitzpatrick.
Ooh.
It's a great pick.
Well, guys, that concludes y'all's draft, but we're going to review teams real quick and then go into some that you didn't pick. For Mike, for the Mills squad, we've got Scotty Scheffler at 1, Xander Schauffele at 2, Joaquin Niemann at 3, Will Zalatoris at 4, and his alternate, barring injury or withdrawal or cuts, Shane Lowry. And for the Bull squad, we've got John Rahm, Hideki Matsuyama, Roy McIlroy, Brooks Koepka, and Matthew Fitzpatrick. Now, what I want to get into is the guys you left off the table, and you two morons know better. And when this guy's had such a break, we're not taking the big cat today for some reason. Wish one of you would have, so I could have applauded your brains, but you didn't. That is Sir Tiger Woods. We didn't take him today, but who else did you leave off your list or have on your list that you left off your team? Mike?
So I usually always take Tiger at Augusta, and this is the first year I didn't because a lot of guys that I thought Austin were going to take, he did not. So I kind of went down my board. Xander is one of my biggest picks this week. I think Xander's playing so well. I have to take Scotty. I think Scotty's actually could honestly win the Masters and pull what happened a lot of times in the 90s and then the early 2000s where it's winner over winner over winner. You could see Scotty and Rahm leapfrog each other, for the next 3 or 4 years on this thing. So I think Scotty has a great shot to win and probably beat the field by 6 if he putts as well as he has been lately. So that's one of mine. But leaving guys off, it hurts. It hurts more than you can imagine to leave Tiger off because that's my alternate pick. Had Austin actually taken Shane Lowry round 4, Tiger would have been my alternate. I would have gone away from Brooks, and I'm just going to fade him on this one. I don't know why. I just have a feeling he's not gonna be there. But I would have faded Brooks completely. But no one's rooting more for Tiger than myself. I am a huge Tiger Woods fan. I hope he does get another one. They say he looks phenomenal walking the course. They say his ball striking is unbelievable. So, Justin, I have blocked off the weekend. I am watching Tiger, and I hopefully puts on one more green jacket.
Did you have anybody else on there that you thought, maybe a DeChambeau, that you thought, I could put him in here and just see what happens, or just, really guys you got are the guys you wanted, and Austin might have taken some of yours?
Yeah, the guys I got on my team are the guys I wanted. And I think Austin wanted them too. You can tell by some of his reactions when the picks came out. But 2 guys I had on my list that I did not have. I did want Fitz as well as an alternate name. But 2 guys that I think do play well is Brian Harman. I think actually does play well. If he putts like he did on the Open, I think he can play really well here. And then Ludwig Abear, I think, is a monster on the golf course. The reason I didn't pick him is first-time Masters appearance. That's a hard thing to overcome because you don't realize how tricky those greens are. And putting is not his absolute strong suit. It's driving the ball and then his iron game, honestly, and which plays really well at Augusta. But if you can do that all day long and you can't putt on those slippery, slopey greens, that's like concrete, that really only person in the field that really knows him that well is Tiger. If you don't putt very well at Augusta, you don't win. So that's why I faded Ludwig.
All right. Now, Austin, I know when Mike made his picks, and for some reason he has 4 in a row, there was some facial expression, some body language that just really dejection on your face, especially with the number 3 pick, Xander Schauffele. How do you said that's your pick for the win. Were there other guys that he took, 1? And 2, were there guys you left off that you think back and like, man, I could have taken him here,
Xander was the only one that hurt. I knew he was taking Scheffler 1. I think Neiman is going to have a good week, and I like Zalatoris. They honestly weren't on my board. I got 5 of my top 8, so I stayed true to my board. And I got the guys that I wanted. Xander was the only one. Like I said, I was anticipating him going with either Koepka or Zalatoris in that 3 line. Potentially even Matsuyama. I wasn't sure what your thoughts were on him. I know his form was rounded in. So really didn't see Xander coming there. So like I said, I think he has a big week. So would have liked him. Lowry, I think, has a big week. So Fitz and Lowry were my top 2 for the alternate, and I kind of figured we were going to split those when it fell the way it did. So nothing really surprising there. The one guy that is always a part of Team Bull, going back probably to 2016, 2017, is our fellow Texan, Mr. Jordan Spieth. You talk about a guy that knows how to putt these greens. He's probably, after Tiger and Phil, he's probably that knows the greens on this course better than anybody. But ESPN has the alert come out that he tweaked his wrist, and it was the wrist injury that he battled all last year, and it didn't say that it was going to hold him out or what, but just not being healthy. I had to ding him a little bit, move him down the board. If he comes out tomorrow, plays well, and has a good practice round, and everything's good, I would definitely take him in your Masters pools. I think he has a great shot. I'd look for him for a top 20, top 10. Probably a pretty good, plus 400 or so payout on the top 10, and plus 175, 200 on the top 20. I think he's played really well in the Texas swing. Like for him to have a big week this week.
Okay. Now, I know, Austin, you've already said Xander's your pick to win. Mike, he was your number one pick, Scotty Scheffler. Do you think he takes – you said he takes it home by 6, but are y'all willing to go? Those are your two that I guarantee you those are big monies you're putting on to win?
Yeah, Scotty's my pick to win. I think once he figured out how to putt, I mean, you're talking about a guy that has 2 straight years led the tour and had one of the greatest ball striking years of all time. And he's followed up with a phenomenal ball striking year this year as well. And his whole biggest thing is why he didn't win 7 or 8 tournaments last year was he couldn't putt. He was last in putting. When you're first tee to green and then you're last in putting, you're not going to win tournaments. And he struggled and he didn't win. He had a bunch of top 5s and top 10s. He won, I think he won once or twice. And so he got some wins, but he could have really ran away with the tour last year, and he didn't. Now he shows up, he switches. Rory McIlroy makes a famous quote of saying you should try a mallet putter. He does. I think, Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, Turkey, you have a mallet putter, correct?
I did. Okay,
yes. You did. So Austin is a mallet putter guy. I'm a blade, but I have putted with 15 different putters. I've putted left-handed. I was one of the worst putters of all time, and I've tried really hard to get back. So I understand how Scheffler can be the worst putter in the world, and then all of a sudden something clicks. And so now something clicks. He's got the mallet in his hands. If he putts, even in the top 30, let's say he's 15 to 30 in putting, he'll win Augusta by 6. Unless the only person that can beat Scotty Scheffler, and I really believe this, the only person that can beat Scotty Scheffler is Tiger Woods.
Okay, that is bold, prediction worthy. Now, Austin, different question for you. Is there a dark horse? Is there somebody you're like, man, I can't have him on my team, but outside of Spieth because of the injury, is there somebody you really think that has a chance to show up this week and just out of the blue come win the Augusta?
There's 3 names that kind of come to mind. I'm curious to get your take on them. And for various reasons that they didn't get picked. One guy was the top one was the next on my list. Tony Finau. His game suits Augusta well. He's had some high finishes. I think he's been playing pretty good this year. I like him to potentially make a run. I think he's going to be good. Another guy that has been a staple on Team Mills for a lot of these tournaments. Not this year. Cam Young. I think he's kind of down the board. Definitely a lottery pick to potentially sprinkle. Because if he gets it going, he can make a lot of birdies. He finished, I think, second to Koepka 2-3 years ago now. So I think he could make a big run. And then the last guy, and I did want to pick him, but he's a first timer, and that's Wyndham Clark, because he's never seen the golf course, and I thought it was crazy. He's been invited to play the course a couple times the last 2 years, but he always turned down Augusta because he'd never actually qualified for the Masters. And he said, I'm never going to play Augusta until I actually have been invited and qualified for the Masters, which more power to him. If somebody invites me, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be there.
I understand that.
We saw what he did at the U.S. Open last year. So the guy's got game. He can play at any of these courses, but he's never seen Augusta. So I'm very curious to see how his game translates. He's more than capable of winning this thing, but it's rare for a first-time starter. I think only one time back in maybe the 50s or 60s, a first-time starters won the thing. So the money's not on his side, but he's somebody that, if it all clicks, can definitely win this thing.
Yeah, so I love the Tony Finau. I really think he has a chance. I really think if he stays away from problems in the par 3 contest and hurting himself, he'll be okay. No problem. He's just got to find a way to get over the hump at the Masters. I mean, you're right. He's had chances, and then mistakes happen, whether it's pressure or just, whatever it might be. As far as Cameron Young goes, I am really out on anything as far as winning goes with him. Second place is all day long. You know what? Great for you. But when it comes to winning a big tournament, I don't see it for him. And honestly, I agree with you that a first-timer struggles at Augusta. But one thing that I will say about not necessarily Wyndham Clark, but these guys in general that have been on tour for a little while now, he doesn't have to overthink it. See, I think one of the great things that we saw growing up was Tiger, he could go and dismantle a course and he knew where to hit it. He knew where to put things. These guys today don't have that mental fortitude to do that. So not knowing things and not overreacting to, oh, I need to hit it right here and being able to make shots might actually help Wyndham Clark this week. But the biggest thing there is obviously you got to hit fairways and you got to hit greens and you got to putt. So out of those three, Finau, Wyndham Clark, and then Cameron Young. But I really think I like the Finau pick. I really like him to be a dark horse, finish in the top 5 even.
Yep. So here's my take on that. So Finau, I think is a phenomenal player. I think he has had something off with his game a little bit. He just struggles at the wrong time. Finau, the problem with the Masters is the same thing that's going to happen with Rory. There's something about Augusta. There's something special about Augusta. But when you have the demons and when you have something you can't really get rid of, Rory McIlroy having a lead going to the back 9 and just pulling that tee shot, I'll never forget it. On 10, he pulls it way left in the woods, and he unravels, right? Francisco Molinari, who is just a absolute machine out on the golf course, and unravels when he puts his tee ball in the water in 12. And he's never been right since. We haven't seen that guy compete in a PGA Tour event since. There's something about when you have an incident at Augusta and you just unravel from it. Tony Finau with a broken ankle from the par 3 contest, but also keep in mind, Tony Finau was in that final within Tiger's group when Tiger was playing, and also was in that, I think he had a top 5 finish the year Molinari put his ball in the water. So you're talking about Finau has played well there, but he also was a guy that chunked it in the water. He's also the guy that stumbled on the back 9 as well. So he has struggled at Augusta on the backside, just like Rory has, and I think that's a tough time.
Oh, gosh, you were willing to flush Jordan Spieth then. I mean,
no,
so flush him down the toilet.
But you're talking about Spieth has battled back from that. You've seen Spieth have success. You haven't seen Rory actually. I mean, you've seen Rory get up there, but he's never really been in contention to where it's like we thought he was going to win, right? You've seen Spieth battle back and play well there. So that's my only thing with Wyndham is this. To Austin's point, it's same thing I'm thinking. First timer at Augusta. Augusta again is a special place. There's so many emotions in that golf course. When you show up for the first time, all of us would literally be on the next plane tomorrow, regardless of what we got going on. If someone called us and said, "Hey, you want to come play around at Augusta?" And this guy, for whatever reason, doesn't. So the emotions, what the pedestal he's put Augusta on, which probably everybody does, that's going to be a lot to overcome. The other thing is this: he can get erratic off the tee with driver, and that can come into to bite you on some holes, not on all holes, because Augusta's pretty wide and doesn't have a lot of menacing rough, and he's won a U.S. Open with spraying driver, so it's okay. But putting has been an issue for him. He's been dialed in at times, but that's a different course to putt on. Everyone says you just don't understand Augusta until you've played it several times and you can understand where the green breaks and why it breaks the way it does. So that's where I would go away from Wyndham. Cameron Young, real quick, I think he does not he struggles when he gets down to the end. He's a big, long ball hitter, but he struggles with putting as well. And so I think he has a tough time closing out tournaments. So that's my take on those 3.
I mean, you didn't say anything wrong there.
I appreciate that.
I just really think that I think he came up with 3 good names right there. So
and for the record, Charlie Hoffman's going to shoot 68 and have a share of the lead during the first round at some point. Whether or not he's the first round leader, I don't know, but he will shoot 68, and everyone will say, "Why didn't we pick Charlie Hoffman?" Because all he does is shoot 68 at Augusta.
Freddie Couples as well.
Jeez, Freddie Couples will be probably leading for 2 rounds. Oh,
it's incredible. But I do think Tiger plays well. Austin, so for the listeners at home and for Turkey as well, he does not know this, but one of your favorite golfers of all time is Phil Mickelson. I think Rory's even creeping on Phil a little bit in your mind. But Phil, how's Phil play this week?
Who knows? Phil, I've always been a Phil over Tiger guy. Phil, and somebody made the analogy. Phil's like watching a baby walk on, across a high wire. You're not sure how it's going to end. The baby might get across the wire. He might come crashing down. That's how Phil Mickelson plays golf. You just don't know. And that's what I love about him. Guy finished solo second last year. So you talk about somebody that knows the golf course and, Knows where to hit it. Is still plenty long enough to get onto the par fives. Could do something special. He's been playing terrible at Live, but Augusta does that. It just brings it out of people. If we look up and Phil makes the cut, it will not surprise me. Do I think he's a top 10 guy? No. Could he finish top 30? Probably. Top 20? Yeah. I think he just he's him and Tiger. They just know the course so much, and unlike anything else in golf, at Augusta, if you know the course, you can score, and you just have the muscle memory that he can stand in the pine straw on 13 and go, I can hit this 6-iron out of the pine straw across Race Creek and make eagle. If he's doing that there, he's going to have that memory. Tiger's going to be off the green on 16 going, I can chip this and then get it really close and just go to the muscle memory. And the muscle memory of those two is unparalleled.
Yeah, I think your point there with those two. I can't stand Mickelson either. There are a lot of golfers I really don't like, but as far as those two go, their brain power, individually is amazing, but what they can put together at Augusta without not necessarily, I'm not going to say not keeping up, but they're not hitting it as far as DeChambeau and maybe even Rory McIlroy right now. They're not the longest hitters on tour, But one thing that Mike and I have talked about for years is how much of a scrambler Tiger is, and knowing where to miss and things like that. You can't replace that. And as you talk about muscle memory, it's for Tiger, he's had to relearn all of this stuff. But when it comes to Augusta, it's already there. It's like people have to relearn to eat and stuff. Well, Tiger doesn't have to do that at Augusta. He knows where every shot needs to be. He knows how to hit every shot. And the question is just can he do it? That's the biggest question that we're all going to have this week is can he do it? As far as Phil Mickelson goes, it'll be no surprise if he's in the top 10 coming into Sunday. I don't care how bad he's playing anywhere else. There's no question about will he finish high if he plays well enough and he knows the course to do it. One name that I want to throw out there that I really think after the snub last season is Keegan Bradley. So does he put it together and have a top 10 this week? Does he compete for the lead at all? Any thoughts on that, guys?
Miscut. I
miscut as well.
I don't know what kind of form he's got coming in. I haven't seen him really. I don't know if he went into hibernation or what after the Ryder Cup snub, if you will. But no, if he makes the cut, I'd be surprised. If Justin Thomas makes the cut, I'm going to be surprised as well. To be honest with you.
I would take JT making the cut over Keegan. I really would. I got the Ryder Cup. I got the Ryder Cup shirt on. I'm also the guy that was saying, okay, I don't think JT probably deserves to come. But then the last week, also can tell you, I kind of changed my mind. I was like, you don't leave a guy like JT at home. You just don't. You don't leave JT at home when the stage is that big. The other thing about the Ryder Cup snub is, again, there's no other tournament like it, right? So you talk about Augusta, you talk about winning the Ryder Cup. I think most guys would choose winning Augusta over winning the Ryder Cup. But I think winning the Ryder Cup is going to be right up there as far as in golf accomplishments, right? With winning any major, but I think everybody wants to win Augusta. But if you gave them the choice of being on a winning Ryder Cup team, I think a lot of them are going to debate it after Augusta. So in that snub, I think really took Keegan. It took it hard, and that's a hard one to think. That's another reason why I don't think Wyndham. I actually think Wyndham doesn't play well this week, which is why I also faded him on my team, just like Austin did too. Because when the pressure got really high in the Ryder Cup, he struggled. He hit a lot of things right, leaked it right, blocked it right, and it just came out of his swing. And that's a bad miss at Augusta. And so I just don't think that he plays well. I definitely think Keegan misses the cut, but I think JT actually makes the cut.
All right.
I one more name that I just came to me. I forgot because I was fading him. Victor Hovland. Yes, no. What do we think the status of his game is? He's been struggling, but he's got some scar tissue around Augusta that's been built up now. He's got a couple top tens. Obviously won the FedEx last year, so was primed and then put on a show in Rome for the Ryder Cup. Is Hovland? Is he a factor from the weekend?
Go get you a dice, roll it. 4, 5, 6, he finishes in the top 10. 1, 2, 3, he misses a cut.
So,
You just don't know. You don't know what bag of Skittles he's going to bring with you. You don't know. I'd love for him to do something. I think he's a class act. Like watching him play golf. When he does play well, he plays better than anybody we've seen in a while. But when he has his off moments, man, it's like watching me on a golf course. It's going to be bad, real bad.
I think he gets somewhere. I think he finishes somewhere in the 20s. I think he does make the cut. What's interesting about Victor is he was playing the best golf of anyone at the end of 2023, and he decides to switch golf coaches and do something different with his game. And when he does that, it was like, because my golf level right now is not sustainable. You're playing the best golf on the planet. What do you mean it's not sustainable? What are we doing here? And he switches coaches, and he comes from off a Ryder Cup dominant performance. Switches coaches, and you can see him not playing that well right now. He's really kind of struggling trying to find himself. And Augusta is not a course you want to find yourself at, or coming into Augusta trying to find yourself at. So I don't think he plays that well, but I think he's good enough to get in the 20s, high 20s maybe, T28, something like that.
Yep.
Okay. So real quick, we're gonna play a little bit of Ryder Cup. I'm gonna give y'all 6 names. You're just gonna answer at the same time. Okay. We're gonna go through. The 3 answers are top 10, miscut. Let's do this. Let's do miscut, top 10, or finishes. Okay, because finishes would be not a miscut. But I want to get your opinion on some of these. So, first one, Nick Dunlap.
Miscut.
Finishes.
Okay. All right. Tommy Fleetwood.
Miscut.
Tyrell Hatton.
Hold on, wait. You gotta get Austin's Tommy.
Tommy is. I think Tommy finishes top 15. I'm not sure he gets to top 10. I think Tommy has a good week.
Miscut for me.
Tyrell Hatton.
Finishes.
Hogard.
Miscut.
Max Homa.
Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry. Austin really thinks about it.
I'm not the rapid fire. Sorry.
You're fine.
Hogard misses the cut. I think Hogard missed the cut.
Okay. Max Homa.
Finishes, but not a factor.
Finish. I really want to say miscut. I think he makes the cut on the number, but finishes.
Yeah, it's close. It's close to a miscut.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So this is Austin. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this Masters preview show. This has been an absolute incredible time. Justin, I don't know if you have any other questions. I wanted to throw this one in there. One of the last ones, if Justin's got something to close us out. Justin, you got the par 3 hat on, and 2 of the most famous holes at Augusta are par 3s, right? They're not the most famous, but I think they're 2 of the most famous, if not the most famous, maybe outside of 18. But if we got a chance to play, which one would you want to play versus 12 or 16 is the holes we're talking about. Par 3s at Augusta on the back 9. 12 is the small one for the listeners at home that kind of has the very wide green, but not very long and deep green. It's got the bunker behind it, right where the azaleas are. And then 16 is the famous one where Tiger chipped in. Also, you've seen a lot of aces. It's the skipping hole from the par 3 contest as well. So you get a chance to play one of those holes, 12 or 16. That's one. What would you rather play? And then 2 would be, what hole do you think you would play better?
I would play 12 better because 16 I'm left-handed, so I have to hit a draw into that pin, which means I have to start it over the water, which means 50% of the time it's not going to draw, which means it's going to end up in the water, or I'm going to yank it right. So unfortunately, I'm going to miss a lot of those curves. That's going to funnel it in there. So I would probably play 16 a lot worse than 12. But 12 is such a cool hole. I don't know if y'all have played the Tour 18 golf courses where they do that, but that's always a staple of those. So I played the replica of that one. And it's just a really fun hole with the water in front. And just, you got to be dialed in with a wedge. And I think I can dial in a wedge better than, a 7-9.
So as far as the Sunday pin, I really think a fade would be great for you there. To cut it in, hit it on the
Can't hit a
side of the
fade.
green.
I can't hit a fade.
Oh, well, I'm sorry then. Well, then that sucks for you. I just
It'd
be great for you.
To your You're
Because
about
being a right-handed golfer, if I hit a fade, it's just It's going nothing. I don't care about the water.
Turkey, to your earlier comment, where you said, "Hey, you show up to the golf course, and if you have a draw, you're gonna play a draw all day." I show up to the golf course every day, and I have a draw, and I'm gonna play a draw. So that's
Mike. What do you got?
I would love to play 16. That's the hole I would rather play. But the one I'm going to do better on, I think, is going to be 12. But I think 12 is a really cool hole. It's really interesting. I'm not the best putter, so for me, I hit a draw and I'm right-handed, so I would rather play 16 because I can play off the slope, hopefully get it close, and just with my knees wobbling and shaking, hope I can putt it in. But on 12, that's a tough green. And even worse if you go a little long in that bunker. So I think I would play better on six. I'm sorry. Yeah, I would play better on 16, but I would rather play 12. 12 would be a lot of fun to play, but I would play better on 16. Sorry, I said that opposite in the beginning.
No, that's fine. So for me, I love 16. It's by far one of my favorite holes in golf. Forget Sawgrass, forget Pebble. I absolutely love 16. Now, a lot of that comes from what Tiger did on 16, but the one thing that I love about Augusta that I don't know that you necessarily get everywhere else, maybe it's Sawgrass, the same holes, 4 days, last year, year before, but at 16, it's one of those things that everybody knows on Sunday. You got to hit it the same spot. It's going to trickle right on down there, and if you get on the right pass and it hits the right blade of grass, it's going to trickle in that hole or be within inches. 12 is one of those holes that everybody wants to hit the green. I just put it in the bunker. Just put it in the bunker, and I'm going to chunk it out to the flag. That's about what I got. That's what's going to happen. I'm not even going to play with it. Let's just do it that way and move forward. But 16 for me. I would love to play it. I think it's one of the most beautiful golf holes. I think that is an unreal – because of the history that's there, especially for us guys that grew up watching Tiger and to watch that hole and know that you're going to see the Nike commercial every Masters. They're going to, well, maybe not anymore because there's really no golf for them, but you're going to see what he has done on that hole. And it's the putts, the hole-in-ones. I mean, they're all the same on Sunday. They all go the same way for the most part. I love it. I think I would play that one a lot better because I wouldn't be scared to go at the flag. Whereas 12, yeah, I'm going to the trap. Let's just hit it in the trap and punch it out. Let's see what happens. So, I think that was a great question, Mike. I like that. that.
So that's your Masters preview show, guys. We if you've stuck around with us, thank you so much. I hope you tune into the Masters. I hope you get a chance to watch it. Austin, thank you for coming on. We know we kept you for the March Madness, kept you for the golf. We really appreciate your time. I know the listeners gave us a lot of feedback about you and Zach and really enjoyed both of y'all coming on the show. You're definitely going to be regular guests. Appreciate your time tonight coming on for the Masters show. And keep following us on X. For those who you see Austin and I's scores up there, we'll post them after each day. We'll kind of keep a running tally. You can see who's doing, how we're doing in the friendly wager we've had for over a decade. So Austin, has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for coming.
I appreciate it, guys. I got one little question on my own before I walk out.
Oh, curveball! Here we go. I like it for us. The guest has a question. I like it.
If you are ever lucky enough to go to Augusta, are you walking out of the gift shop with a tab under $1,000? I'm going to be lucky to keep it under $2,000. To be honest with you, there's no chance it's less than $1,000, but I'm going to try to keep it under $2,000.
I will have every golf shirt they have in my fat size, every single one. I will have 5 to 10 hats.
I will have every hat. I will have every hat in every color and just
give me some gnomes. I want some gnomes.
Mm-hmm. I will have glasses. I will buy chairs, and I will get rid of my couch and just put
It will throw up all over me. I'll dye my beard green and yellow and just throw up all over me.
Exactly.
I've seen some of these halls, Austin, and I'm like, do y'all not have bank accounts anymore?
Yeah.
Like they're putting them on the hotel bed, which is some shanty 50 miles away in the hood that nobody can afford. Well, everybody can afford. It's like $5. Normally they charge by the hour, but yet the bed is covered in Masters gear.
Yep.
Oh, I mean, one day, I can't wait.
I hope one day we get a chance to go. I don't have answers nowhere near as good as these two guys. I'm not even going to try to. That was hysterical because that is a phenomenal scene to see you two guys trying to come out and carry as much as you humanly possibly can out of your arms out of the Masters gift shop. What a visual. I appreciate that.
Yeah, Austin, thanks for coming on, man. Dude, it's been a ball.
Keep up the good work. Good to talk with y'all. Enjoy the Masters. We'll talk soon.
All right,
Appreciate it,
buddy.
brother.
Good luck this week.
Man, what a
Well,
cool show. What a great time having him on, right?
oh, Austin is great. It's been phenomenal having him on. Just the insight, the knowledge. I mean, the fact that he knows so much about Arkansas basketball. It's just the little things. It's the little things that breaking down his mind and being with us. Really, Austin, appreciate you coming on, big dog.
So that was good. Listen, I mean, I know we did a lot of whip around coverage. We had to get into March Madness and Calipari. So for those listening, we appreciate you guys sticking with us. The Masters is a huge time of the year for us as sports fans. All three of us are avid golfers as well. And so this is one of the biggest events of the year. So we're definitely excited. You guys got to see the Masters draft with Austin and I, which was an incredible thing. So I know we close always with horse racing. There wasn't much going on, Justin. So we'll keep it brief for our listeners because we're definitely going to have a Derby preview show where we can highlight a lot more of that stuff for them. Finish us off, Justin, with Derby stuff. What we got?
All right, so you had the Florida Derby, the Arkansas Derby a couple weeks ago. This week you had the Bluegrass. You mentioned, we've talked about Sierra Leone comes away with the win there. What are your thoughts as far as Derby prep keeps going, as far as workouts now? Because doubtful anybody else runs. We're less than a month away from the Derby now. What are your thoughts on how moving forward these horses are going to go with the three winners from the Florida, the Arkansas, and the Bluegrass? Do you think, has that changed your opinion completely? I know we've talked about this and you have some thoughts. So what say you?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Sierra Leone, actually, because remember, a couple shows back, if the listeners remember, we talked about Sierra Leone. We talked about the choice Tyler Gaffleone has to make, but riding two of Chad Brown's horses, Sierra Leone, or I think it's Domestic Product. And so that decision, I think, is getting a little bit easier for Tyler Gaffleone. He wins the Bluegrass on Sierra Leone. I think Sierra Leone is definitely going to be a buzz horse, can do it. He does come from way out of it, but he's ran wide in both trips. He has no problem getting dirt kicked in his face, and he can make a run when it comes home, and he's got a long stretch of Churchill Downs. So I think Tyler Gaffleone, I said it a couple weeks ago, I think he should choose Sierra Leone. We'll see if he does. That will determine a lot to see what happens, but also pay attention to who picks up on Sierra Leone too, as well if Tyler doesn't choose him. But I think it would be crazy for Tyler not to choose Sierra Leone. So I'm a huge Sierra Leone fan. I've been a fan of his since the Risen Star. So I think that's going to be a big one to watch.
All right, so you got one of your favorites in there. What do you make of Fierceness winning the Florida Derby?
That was one of the greatest performances I've ever seen in a horse race. Secretary's on a league above his own. We did get a chance to watch Flightline. You and I were actually together when we got a chance to watch Flightline win the Breeders' Cup Classic in an absolute romp fashion. You don't see those performances very often, and when they do, they're special. His performance in the Florida Derby was absolutely phenomenal. The way he led gate to wire, was under a hand ride, was calm, pulled off in the stretch, and then dug deep and just put that field away and really blitzed that field. It was a very strong run. I think Johnny V has got this horse dialed in. As far as from a jockey standpoint, Todd Pletcher has got him training very well. Like I said, he had to come back from that injury, and we talked about what his performance was going to do and what it was going to do for his Derby chances. It vaulted him up there. The only thing Fierceness has got to do is stay healthy and not draw a bad draw in the Derby. And bad draws are the 1 or 2 hole or the 18 to 20 hole in the Derby. Those are horrible spots to draw for him in the Derby. He needs to be somewhere between 7 to 11, and you will see an absolute phenomenal performance in Kentucky.
All right. So this has been going on for a couple years now, and it really irritates me because it's not the horse's fault. The trainer's an idiot. I don't wish the trainer shouldn't be able to train horses no matter how good he is. But Bob Baffert's Muth won the Arkansas Derby. Churchill Downs is trying to get a lawsuit thrown out to allow him to run in the Kentucky Derby. Obviously, with the month to go, they have time. This could still happen. But do you think, in your horse racing opinion, that Muth should be able to run, 1, and 2, is he the odds-on favorite after his performance in the Arkansas Derby?
So interesting. So just a point of clarification, Churchill Downs is actually trying to prevent him from running in this, right? So they don't want him to run there. I think Baffert and also Zidane, who is the owner of Muth, is trying to get it to where this lawsuit is thrown out so his horse Muth can run. I have mixed feelings about this. I think it's not the horse's fault. The horse should be able to compete, to run, and do whatever. The problem I have is the ban was already in place when Muth was in training as a 2-year-old. Zidane knew this. Zidane could have changed trainers, could have gone to anyone else just for the Derby season and then switched to Baffert afterwards. You could have done all these moves. You chose not to. So I don't have sympathy for that, because you had every opportunity to do something different, to put your horse in a better spot, and you didn't do it. So now you can't really get upset when you knew the rules ahead of time. So I have a problem with that. I hate that it's going to be that way for the horse, but I can tell you, if Muth was in this field, so let's pretend he was in this field.
Yeah.
I still think Fierceness is better than Muth. I do think Fierceness is gonna honestly put on a performance in the Derby, as long as he draws a good gate. And I think that's super important for the Derby. So when you pay attention to the draw that happens during that week leading up to Derby, I believe it's on Tuesday, pay attention to the draw, and that will determine how you would handle Fierceness in this kind of a field. Sierra Leone, it really doesn't matter. I would love Sierra Leone to kind of draw a 10 to 18, 20 kind of draw, to honestly stay on the outside, stay wide. The only thing that's going to really hurt Sierra Leone is if he gets anywhere between 1 and 5. Getting tucked on the rail with horses coming over on top is going to be a really bad look for Sierra Leone. So anything that's in double-digit figures for Sierra Leone is going to be great. But to your point, if Muth was in the field, I would not pick Muth on top.
Okay. All right. Just an interesting fact for those that don't know, Baffert was suspended through 2023, and Churchill Downs added an extra year. So regardless, Baffert's bad. Don't want him in the sport. I think there are ways that Churchill could get around this and allow one of the best horses of the year to race. He also won a 100-point race at the Arkansas Derby, but that's not here or there. You've heard it here. Mike has Sierra Leone and Fierceness, depending on draws, which like anything in sports, depends on where you start. To how you finish sometimes, but at the end of the day, watching the race, watching the Florida Derby with Fierceness, I do not see any reason that if he gets anything in the middle there, he doesn't come out on top, and by a couple lengths at least. I'm excited. The Kentucky Derby is a great race. Love watching it. It's a lot of pageantry there. The 20 horses is awesome. You always have a chance for 60, 70 to 1 to show up on top. Rarely, but you always have a chance. Folks, tonight, that's our horse racing coverage. We will have a lot more in the coming weeks getting ready for the Kentucky Derby. We are working on a couple huge guests to come into the show and give us their insights to help me as I host the 5 Minutes with Mike. We hope you have enjoyed the 5 Minutes with Mike tonight. He's given you some insight. There will be no more prep races for the big-time names. They will be training. We'll have some numbers for you as we get closer. Be looking forward for that Kentucky Derby preview show with multiple guests and hopefully some big name guests you can enjoy and listen to.
Absolutely. Yeah, I 100% agree. What an incredible show it was tonight. I mean, we really hyped up this Masters show. We wanted to do the March Madness and Masters, and it's been an incredible show. So thank you all for listening. We appreciate all of your support. Wherever you are, follow us on X at Up and Running Pod, on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, because whenever you get up and running, we're right there with you. This is Mike always saying, be kind, be humble, and always be grateful. Justin.
Yeah, at Bama Turk 46. Give it to me. Tonight we're going to post the draft results for Mike and Austin's Masters draft. Going to have some updates for that as the weeks come on. Enjoy Master Week as we start Thursday morning, bright and early. That's it, everybody. Have a good week, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.